we do need to recognise that women in workplaces face unconscious bias. So I think in most workplaces, sort of the old-fashioned overt bias, we see less and less of that. What we see is companies with great intent, they want to see change, but then when they try, they're not making the progress they would hope for. And I think that's because they are focused on, let's support women, let's put women on leadership programs. There's sort of an assumption that maybe they don't have the right technical skills. So I think if they want to support women, they need to look at the entire organisation, and they need to look at methods to de-bias things like recruitment, things like promotion, and they need to look at their competency models. So when you look at how you define leadership, often we find that it's defined in very masculine terms. And so looking across the entire organisation, all its processes, and focused on de-biasing those is the best way to ensure that you're pulling more women through and retaining more women in leadership roles. So I think the challenge around inclusion is pretty much common everywhere. What we see is that a lot of organisations focus on the diversity because that's quite easy to measure. We just look at percentages. But what they're not focusing on is the inclusion part. How do we bring in that diversity because we know it's good for business? How do we then include it? Because if we can't include that diversity of thought, then we've wasted all that effort. We're not getting the benefits of it. So I think what organisations need to focus on is specifically what do we mean by inclusion? What are inclusive behaviours? And working with their leadership teams and their managers to explain, here's what inclusive behaviours look like. Here's how we can measure them. Here's how we can progress against them. And I think wherever we are in the world, whichever part of the world, I think that's benefit to all organisations and an area that requires additional focus. So for organisations, I think it is taking time to understand the evidence-based solutions. So if you genuinely want to see more diversity within your organisation, understanding those things around the recruitment process that work, such as structured interviews and skill-based assessment, and making sure you've got more than one candidate on the final slate.